Alrighty, everybody. Here's a little wind blowing, but that's okay. Today I want to do a book review on what I think is a very, very important book. It's called Death of a King by Tavis Smiley, who has a radio show and a TV show on PBS. This book is subtitled The Real Story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Final Year. And I don't have every book written about Dr. King. I have a lot of books written about Dr. King, but I felt this was an important book to get, especially because there were so many questions concerning Dr. King's death, who was involved with it and who wasn't involved with it, and quite frankly, Mr. Smiley does not go into a lot of detail about that, and he probably shouldn't, because number one, he works for two organizations that are regulated by the FTC, so he really can't afford to get into the area of speculation. And number two is just a lot of speculation. We do know, and Mr. Smiley does cover this, that the FBI was involved in slandering Dr. King. And we do know for a fact that the day of his death, that the patrols that were scheduled to be around his block and had been the previous several days before that last day were pulled back, and no one's ever really given a good explanation why they were pulled back. But he really doesn't go into that, and he really doesn't go into a lot of stuff that happened after the death. It's really about what he says it's about, the last year of his life. And of course he weaves in some background information to give you the proper context or whatever. I like the detail. Parts of it, it's almost a day by day, hour by hour, blow by blow account of Dr. King's very, very heavy schedule. Many times he would fly back into Atlanta on a red eye, grab a couple hours of sleep, and then he'd have to preach at Ebenezer, and then he'd be off on another flight to some other place or whatever. And this was day in, day out, month in, month out, or whatever. And but it's a really, really good account, and it goes into a lot of detail about how a year before his death he gave the famous speech at Riverside Church, where he said we don't need to be in Vietnam, and made the statement that America was the greatest purveyor of violence in the world, and that still may be the case, quite frankly. That still may be the case. But anyway, it is a great book. Is there anything I don't like about it? Well, I would have liked for him to talk a little bit about the aftermath of Dr. King's death, and maybe that's an idea for a sequel. And I would have also liked to have had a little bit of information about the conspiracy theories concerning Dr. King's assassination, but of course there are other books for that too. So by and large, I'd give this book 5 stars out of 5 stars, and if you care about Dr. King, if you care about the civil rights, if you care about American history, this is a book you should definitely have.